morning, everyone. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast tonight. Tonight we have a very special guest, a global award-winning author. Yes, that's right, a global award-winning author, and her name is Tasha Madison, and we're really excited to have her here tonight. So while you're popping up here, please share with us where you're from. I'm down here in Kyle, Texas, kind of in central Texas area. And Tasha, where are you broadcasting from? Maybe I'll try again.
You just went out, April. I can't see or hear you.
Oh, I just went out again. Oh dear. I wonder what is happening. Let me try another route. Everyone, technical difficulties. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. Here I go again. We'll try another way until we get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if this backup works. Any better? I still see frozen. Yeah. I don't know.
I can see you. I can see you and hear you now.
Okay. Trying again. Any better? Not yet?
All right, okay. I can see you now.
You can see me now? We are having the technical crazies tonight. So we'll try again. Okay, so Tasha, Tasha, where are you broadcasting from tonight? Did I freeze again? Okay, everybody, I'm going to drop out and we're going to come back again one more time. We'll see what happens here. Holding down the fort. Is it better now?
You're back. I can see and hear you.
Okay. Well, this is going to be an interesting one with the technology. We'll just keep trying. Look, two people are still hanging on. Still hanging on. Can you still hear me now, or has it dropped off again? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Good. All right. So, Tasha, tell us a little bit about this global award and your book, Fabric of a Generation.
Yes, of course. So Fabric of a Generation is a young adult historical fantasy, and it's a coming-of-age tale. And the main character is Miranda. She's a troubled teen, and she really struggles with her identity, who she is, the way that she relates to her family members. She feels like everyone is against her, that no one understands her, kind of the typical teenage woes. And she really has a really difficult relationship with her mother. Her mother is a very ambitious woman, and she feels like her mother just doesn't take time for her family. And so a lot of her issues in life kind of stem from the struggles that she faces with her mother. So Fabric of a Generation won the Author Elite Award for Best Young Adult Fiction, and I just got it in the mail today. So this is what it looks like. And that's kind of the basic premise of the story.
Wow, that's incredible. I love the teenage kind of angst. It looks like many young adults will be, connected with that, want to pick up the book and start reading. So with this character, Miranda, what kind of adventures does she go on?
Well, I would say the first half of the book it really addresses her home life. So the various dilemmas that she faces with her family members, her immediate family members, her father, her brother, her younger brother, her mother, and her grandparents, and the various different trials and triumphs that she kind of experiences with each of those individual family members. But as the story goes on, because of her issues with school and her delinquency in school, she has to do this special assignment. And as part of that assignment, her mother forces her to talk to her grandmother and to really learn her family history and more about their past and where they come from. And in doing that and getting prepared for this sale that her grandmother is involved in, at this rummage sale that her grandmother is involved in, they go up to the attic to kind of look for different things to donate. And as they leave Miranda to kind of start her project, she finds this shawl in the attic, and she starts kind of mimicking her grandmother and making fun of her, and really kind of not taking the project seriously. And in the midst of all of that, what ends up happening is it kind of transports her to another time, and she literally gets dropped in various different times of history, essentially, and she has to try to find her way back home. And part of the problem of trying to find her way back home is she doesn't really understand, why this is happening, how this is happening. And so in order to get back home, she has to really learn about herself, learn about who she is, her identity, and all the things that that entails. And only once she truly learns to figure out who she is and accept that and learn about the importance of family and all of the different things that she took for granted can she begin to start the process of trying to find her way back home.
Wow. The process that takes looks like it's going to be a really fun adventure. I can see why this has won the award. There's a lot of adventure involved in this, as well as self-discovery. And for many of my audience and readers, they too are on a self-discovery journey. They might not have that magic shawl that helps to transport them through different times, but their experiences, trials, struggles, I think like all of us, when we escape into fiction, we think we're leaving our problems and our world behind. No.
Mm-hmm.
We're just basically putting them in a different place and living through a different character. And I don't know
Right.
about you, is that many times when I'm reading fiction, I find myself connecting to the characters' emotions, relationships. I'm screaming at the book. I'm shutting it closed. Like, I can't believe that just happened, And I'm a sucker. I get sucked right in. And that's why fiction is it's so popular. It's a story. And through the story, we learn the lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So what I teach my students when we are talking about character development, social skills, anything like that, many of the students who I teach have autism. And so I love to use books because the character then becomes the model, right? And so it's really safe because we can model and see if that character is socially connecting or acting socially like they should be or shouldn't be. And so it's kind of easy to blame that character. And at the same time, then they can kind of retrospectively say, well, maybe I'm just like that. Wonder what I can change. And so I really love books like this that help to I learn what your identity is. But what's so fun is the escape and the adventure. That's incredible. So how did you come up with these ideas, Tasha?
Well, for me, most of my writing kind of happens in really mundane everyday while I'm doing everyday activities. And this was no different. I think I was like doing the dishes or something. And then all of a sudden I was like, I just got a really great idea for a story. So for me, it happens really in just odd places. Like sometimes I could be in the car or talking to a family member or having a discussion with a friend. Yeah, my ideas come to me kind of really in odd moments of just living everyday life. And then I kind of scribble down as much as I can remember that comes to me until I can kind of flesh it out when I get home. So that, yeah, the story, it came to me just in a flash, really. I was just doing, again, just a mundane activity at home. And then all of a sudden I was like, I just got a really great idea for a story.
I love that. In our everyday activity, because that's action, I think our brain is firing off in so many ways. And it's probably had that idea back there, just kind of dusted it off. And it happened to be the right timing whenever you were folding that sock. And it was like, oh, hey, great thing. And I think inspiration within our everyday activities, especially for women, is really important because, I mean, I understand that taking care of self, and if you can meditate and have, other types of moments in time, is very, very good. But I got to tell you that I get maybe 10 minutes of that a day, and I'm on the go, 9 kids working, you have the everyday things that are happening. And so it is great to have something close by.
Mm-hmm.
I've written many things on the backs of cards.
Yes.
Napkins. Whatever. And yeah, putting it down in the physical act of actually writing it there really helps in the memory. Obviously you can reread it, but it's just that kinesthetic putting it there for myself. I know, okay, that was there. Many of the times I remember writing it on a pink piece of paper, and then I'm looking for pink. Where's that pink piece of paper, right? Mm-hmm. Finding it, getting it back into the groove of things. So in the everyday activity, that's where some of your ideas come about. Have you written any other books?
I have, actually. In fact, my second novel is a historical fiction novel. It's called Pharaoh's Shadow. And it really is it's based on a true story of the conspiracy to murder Ramesses III, who was the reigning pharaoh of the 20th dynasty in ancient Egypt. And actually, I got the idea to write that book while I was in the editing process of Fabric of a Generation. And I almost kind of put Fabric of a Generation to the side and stopped working on it to work on that one. And then I decided, no, let me finish what I'm doing. So I kind of just jotted down the basic premise. And originally, it actually was going to be kind of the star-crossed romance about a royal princess, Egyptian princess, who falls in love with, one of the servants in the palace. And then I decided to do more and learn about my family history. And I took a DNA test and found out that I was related to Ramesses III. And all of a sudden I thought, no, okay, I can't do a romance. I can't be related to this man and not tell his story. So I ended up, changing the idea and morphing it when I found out that I was related to him so that I could tell the story of who he is and how he lived and how he died.
Unbelievable. A DNA test actually links you to Ramesses III. Oh my goodness. How incredible is that? Did your mouth fall open? Were you like,
yes, well, I had one of those moments where, you're looking at the information and, I'm staring at this paper, looking at this, data in black and white. And I'm like, what? Is this real? And I'm like staring at it. And then I had my sister look at it. I'm like, make sure I'm not reading this wrong. And I remember telling my family members, and we all were kind of, in shock. And it was really, something that we obviously weren't expecting. But it's one of those fabulous random discoveries that happens to you. And it just happened to fit into place with my next story.
Maybe there were a few generational whispers kind of putting some ideas into your head.
Yes.
Absolutely. Grandpa back here. I think that is so fun. Just that concept of looking into the history. So many of us have a legacy that we're trying to pass forward. And yet there have been generations where that legacy has been lost, either because we're not sharing the oral stories, or things haven't been written down. And thinking about whole generations of where we came from, that there's these gaps in a story is what I mean. Like, how do we know? And it's fantastic with DNA, and it's fantastic with lots of research that you can get lots of places. But I'm finding more and more that if we're not capturing the story, even if it is the everyday story, I mean, who knows? Maybe Ramesses went and visited the kitchen and took some grapes. I don't know, right? I mean, in the everyday thing of life, it's so fascinating. So I find this really encouraging to make sure that I encourage my children to write, to do their journaling, because you want to leave those stories for sure. Fantastic. So you have finished the second book, is that right?
Hmm. Yes, it launched in August of this year.
Wow, fantastic. So do you have any more that are in that head of yours that you want to write down?
Yes, I think I probably have the problem that few writers have. Most writers are like, oh, I can't think about what to write about next. What should be my next story? What should I pursue? My problem is figuring out what of the list of ideas that I've jotted down should I write about next. So I think I'm blessed in the sense that God has really blessed me with a fount of ideas that kind of just keeps bubbling forth. So yeah, I've already started thinking about the next story. So I think for me, it's a more of a matter of versus figuring out what should I write about in terms of trying to get an idea. I think and I think that part of that is I'm inspired by so much. I love history and I love to tell stories, and the art of storytelling is something that I think is often lost, and it has great value. History is something that is so important, and I love to incorporate that into the stories that I write.
Oh, beautifully said. Incorporating what you know, the family histories, different stories. It makes the characters really full of life and tangible and connectable and relatable. Some of our favorite stories, if you think back in school when you were reading them, today when you're reading them, a long time ago, maybe even as your grandparents read something to you, it's about that connection to something within the story just impacts us. And like myself, some books I read again and again and again, like an old friend. It's a good thing. And it's also a bad thing because sometimes I find myself not looking into new material. But it's incredible. So is this book, Fabric of a Generation, available on audio?
Yes, it is. It's available in paperback form, hardback form, ebook, and as well as audiobook. So you can get it in all of those four different formats.
Fantastic. When did the audiobook release?
It released probably, I think, like 3 months after the initial book launched. So fairly close to the initial book, but probably a few months after it. So both the book and the audiobook released last year. And the audiobook, I think, released in November of last year. So about a year ago.
Wow. Well, this is coming up on a birthday. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
What great timing. Good timing to have a birthday. And you were talking about, how blessed you are to have these ideas percolate right up and that you've got a whole list. So with that being said, you already have 2 books finished.
Hmm.
What do you think your next book is going to be about?
Well, I can't reveal it just yet because I'm still working on it. But I'll give you a little sneak peek, a little teaser, if you will. It's going to be a young adult book, and the main character this time is going to be male. So it's going to be told from the male perspective this time instead of the female perspective. And this time, one of the issues I'm going to be tackling is dealing with someone who isn't popular, someone who has a history of being bullied, and how that has a ripple effect in their life as they begin to pursue their opportunities after high school.
Awesome. Great connection. I really hope that people will read it, connect with it, and you've got a great foundation set there. So you're going to be, my goodness, you're started on a third book. You're probably just going to write with all of these ideas 5, 10, 15 more books. So keep an eye out for Miss Tasha Madison, global award-winning author, because what she produces really connects. It really brings about something where we have that safety, where we get to ride through the character, and yet some great learning experiences as we connect to the story. That's why fiction is just, it's so fun. It's so powerful. It's so incredible. Lori says, what a healthy way to escape versus destructive behaviors. Amen on that, Miss Lori. Exactly. Imagine if we could get more and more readers, more and more of our youth and children involved in this reading and connection, and finding that even if it is a fictional character, they too can have similar feelings, emotions, and their identity can help be formed even more.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. So Tasha, what do you do every day?
So I'm a creative consultant. I do quite a lot. Everything from copywriting, copy editing, layout and design, video production. So my business kind of encompasses all of those different things, as well as coaching other creatives, like writing, being a for other authors as well. So it kind of encompasses all of those various different areas of communication.
Wow, fantastic. Did you know growing up your whole life that words and communication were going to be the way that, you made a living, that you met people? Have words and communication always been a part of your life?
Yes, they have actually. In fact, I would probably say from the time that I was in the third or fourth grade, I knew that words mattered to me. And I told my mother that I wanted to be an author when I was that young. Yes, I knew at a very early age what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. And I'm grateful that I had parents that really helped to foster that interest in reading. It started with a love affair of reading. And then that kind of morphed into wanting to write. And then from there, even, really delving into the craft of writing and editing. So I knew very early on, and a lot of that was really, strengthened by my mom I have very fond memories of my mom taking me and my siblings to the library. And I'm the kid who would spend 4 to 5 hours at the library. And I'm the one who checked out my book limit. I think it was like 22 books or something. And I checked out my book limit and I read them. So I was a total book nerd when I was younger. But I think that love of reading really helped to really strengthen my bond to not only what I read, but to what I wanted to see depicted in stories. And from there, it just kind of helped to engender this love for wanting to write and tell stories.
Wow. Okay, well, you opened the can of worms or Pandora's box, either way you want to look at it.
What did I say?
What book as a child inspired you?
Oh, that's a hard question because there's so many. Um, to me, I don't think it's one book. I think it's probably several. I think the very first type of writing probably I was introduced to was poetry by my mother, and Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, Nikki Giovanni. I just fell in love with poetry and the flow of words. To me, it was like music. written down, like lyrics. It was just was something was very beautiful. So I think really it probably wasn't necessarily a book in the beginning. It probably was just poetry in general. And then from there, probably the typical kids books. Like I was completely obsessed with all things Nancy Drew. I read every single book, and I had to read it in order. So those were kind of the first probably set of books that really kind of captured my mind and my heart when I was younger. And from there, just kind of blossomed into others. I mean, there's so many. I don't think I can list them all. But I think in general, it started with poetry, and then from there, kind of morphed into a love affair with mysteries, and then other types of fiction genres.
Wow. See, I knew you'd have an answer. And that's great if it wasn't just one. I think it is amazing that you understand the flow, the fluidity, the power, the strength of what words are put in the order, which I think poetry has that strength. It has a way to deliver an image as well as emotion with minimal words, but the words chosen have the deepest impact. And it's just amazing.
Yes.
I know when we are working with women that have been in domestic violence situations, we encourage them to write. And it's so interesting how many write poems. And it's like they finally have a voice again. They've captured this trauma, abuse, and pain, tapped into it, and now we're starting to see the healing really come forward, and it is powerful. So, I hopefully that encouraged more in the audience tonight to pick up that pencil, crack open the computer, whatever, and get some words flowing, because there are stories that they have, and as they practice and the words come, the pain is healed. And they find more and more of themselves within that identity. And it's a beautifully healing thing. So thank you so much, Tasha, for sharing that and counting all of these blessings. And again, winning that global award for Fabric of a Generation. You've expressed so many amazing things this night. So I'll leave you to give us the final words that you want to say to this audience, and we'll close her down.
Sure. So I think for me, the beauty, as you kind of alluded to earlier, the beauty of the written word and the reason why I think it's so powerful is not only that you can get lost in a story that's told well, but I think that it also has the ability to transform you. It's transcendent. And I think that is something that I try to imprint in everything that I write. I try to do it in an entertaining and funny way, right? When the story is told well. But at the end of the day, I want stories to have meaning. And when they have meaning, they matter. And I think for me, that is the greatest thing that any book can do, is to become meaningful to any reader. And I hope that's what my books can do for everyone listening.
Oh, thank you for that. I think that is perfect. A great way to end this evening. Sorry for some of the technical delays tonight, but we're glad we were able to punch through it. And Tasha, you've been a beautiful star. Thank you so much for following through on what you knew that you wanted to do between the 3rd and 4th grade, already knowing that. Thank you so much. And we hope to see more and more books from you. I can't wait to show my daughters. And I'm going to have a sneak peek because I'm going to grab that audiobook tonight because I need an escape right now. Tonight, I am getting that tonight. I need an escape. I just need a place to run to. And so I'm looking forward to getting connected to Miranda and find out what's going to happen.
Well, so it's been a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. See you, everybody, and we'll talk later.